And then he
Okay.
also got to do
All right.
Make-A-Wish.
I finally smacked the computer enough times to get the stream to work, so it is now live.
All right.
Yeah, that whole conversation was supposed to be.
It was a good convo, though.
That whole unplanned, planned, leaked conversation didn't leak correctly. Damn it! Unplanned, leaked conversation.
Yo, man. I mean, hey, at least the fans get to know some of the nonsense that we get up to actually, because as much as we joke around about our planned leak content, quote unquote, some of the conversations are actually really dope that we get up to back here.
I think they're the most unfiltered and unhinged, and that's where I thrive.
Well, that is true.
But
you are, my friend, like the very definition of a screen door, completely unhinged.
I like to think of myself as a broken door.
Ask me to post more buttons, Facebook. I'll get around to it on my own time.
Fair.
Oh shit, I should probably press play. There we go.
That's a great video.
God, I suck at this. Why does anybody even watch? Oh wait, nobody does. That's right.
I watch.
Yeah, we watch our own stuff. All right, good enough for me.
Dude, I just love the sound of my own voice, so whenever I need to sleep, I just put it back on in my ears and coast off into dreamland, because I am a sweet, succulent voice.
That is some hardcore narcissism, my friend.
And also probably the biggest lie I've ever told. I was trying to do quotes, and I had to listen to my own voice, and I was like, you don't know how to talk. You don't know how to sound different. And I almost figured out how to change my fluctuation for one of the quotes, and I was like, oh, you might know something in 10 years.
Fair. For the future, if you ever do need somebody to do voice stuff, reach out, eh? I'm more than willing to help.
No, dude, right now, this is the roughest of rough drafts. I'm trying to figure out how to do it, and then I'll figure out how to make it better. But don't ask other people to do wild rough draft work until you're ready for them to do their part.
Fair enough. I respect that. I'm still, though, man, you're a brother. If I can help, I'll help, right?
Dude, that's actually the fun thing. A lot of the quotes I found, I tried to find a lot of stuff that related to brothers, and how, one of the best ones I found was by Homer, and it was something like, let me see if I can find it. I wrote it down somewhere here. It's, for a friend with an understanding heart is worth no less than a brother. And that's
pretty dope.
That's been my philosophy forever. I can't believe Homer nailed it the first try, thousands of years ago. Because obviously I'm trying to be on brand with the Writer Brothers, but one of the things I was actually going to try and get your guys' input on is I've noticed other podcasts that I like, they do this little flashy thing at the bottom, kind of like our logo at the top right. And I was thinking about changing that so that to incorporate Parker's idea about the Weird Brothers, where that would change from TWB to the Writer Brothers to the Weird Brothers to the Wild Brothers, and just keep changing.
Ooh, I like it. Good.
Phrases. So yeah, I'm working on it, but that's where I came up with the idea of the Ouroboros being the rotation that then spits out the next line.
Yeah. John, I'm throwing some quotes for you in. Actually, I'm going to do a better job of it. I'm throwing some quotes in for you from Deep Space Nine on Quark talking about his brother.
Yes, I love these, and those are some good Star Trek ones, but some of the ones I found were just too fucking good. I found one from Picard where he's like, there comes a time when good men of conscience must not follow orders blindly. And then I went to go find the episode and I listened to it on YouTube, and I was like, duh. Because it directly relates to Data being like, I created a life and now you're telling me to kill it. And Picard's like, no.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is, so like a lot of the quotes I found were like really short, but then when I went to go find them in reality, like in their actual, where they were said, their context, I was like, I'm taking the whole thing. Like I found one that I loved from Shakespeare, which was, the world's a stage, men and women are merely players.
Yep.
And then if you listen to the rest of the soliloquy, you're like, oh my God, that is what I was trying to find all day.
Hey man, the Bard has got some major lines.
And that was like my whole thought. It's like, obviously everybody loved this stuff for thousands and hundreds of years, depending on the writer. But I have never seen it outside of a high school classroom. And so I went hunting and found it my way, and then wrote it down better than I've ever written it down when I was in high school.
Yeah.
I don't know. Part of the reason why I like this show is I am finding more reasons to like English classes, even though I hated English classes in high school.
Honestly, English is one of those like crazy classes that it's not that it's a bad subject or anything. I just think it's taught wrong. Right?
Dude, I would say that the evidence definitely says it is, because the amount of people that are writing today that graduated from high school with the same-ish English class that I did, they're not writing like they learned anything from the artists. They're writing more like they know how to get A's from their teachers.
That's it.
And a lot of those teachers never liked movies, never liked TV shows, and would tell you that you're rotting your brain watching them. And that's something I've always disagreed with and intend to prove.
Well, the teacher that tried to tell me that, I got them into Babylon 5. And they sat there and they went, okay, so I was wrong. Sci-fi is not drivel. It has some of the like best writing at the time. You have to remember that, you know, the Iraq War was happening, and there's a line Jakar says, where he goes, no potentate, no dictator has ever managed to control a population through force of arms in the long term. We taught the Centauri this once, and though it may take 1,000 years, we will teach it to them again. And I'm like, you know, and he was sitting there going like, that hit, and I'm like, that now is like the Ukraine anthem, right?
Honestly, it should be something screamed at America right now, because they're in Iraq War 2.0 Venezuela edition, which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
No, we're not.
Stealing other people's products,
not
is
even
stealing, whether you want it to be or not. If you don't have a right to their property, because the Constitution says that the government does not have a right to anybody's property.
Simon Does 6453 says hi.
Hey, I would actually argue that, sovereign kidnapping is also kind of a big no-no.
Well, you have to be legitimate to be sovereign, and Maduro is not legitimate. So
unlawful imprisonment is unlawful imprisonment.
Unlawful running over of your citizens is unlawful running over of your citizens, and a violation of the Geneva Convention. It's the trash taking the trash out. This is not a hill to die on.
That's the problem. The hill to die on is that the government sucks, no matter who the government
Correct. Both sides are still shit at the end of the day. I will give credit where due, though. It was surgical in and out.
Right, but that's
which is what we want for warfare.
But that's always been the beauty of the military. Like, to say that the military is beautiful is at this point cliche.
I mean, we can do better. We need
give
0 civilian casualties, but that's about.
Don't give credit to other people for other people's work. Just because they did it efficiently doesn't mean anybody in their chain of command above the guys that got the job done are good at their job. Like, because that's the problem. That's how we continue to allow it to repeat. Like, this is literally Saddam Hussein round 7. Because we keep doing it wherever we think we know what we're doing. But we don't, because that's arrogance. If somebody needs to be overthrown, it is the duty of that person's people.
That's what they tried to do, John. Then they took away their guns and they oppressed them. If you notice, they're all celebrating in the streets. Who was going to save the Venezuelans?
Dude, the majority of the videos of the celebrations.
It's easy for you and me to. It's easy for you, and no, it isn't. It's easy for you and me. No, it isn't. No, you can say that, and you have to prove it's true, and you are not proving it's true. I've also looked at the videos.
If you want to see the actual people that do the research that I listen to, Breaking Points, they did a huge breakdown of it yesterday. It's about 40 minutes long, showing how every celebration that Fox News and CNN had found.
That's not what I watch
AI
for celebrations, but thank you for assuming.
I'm not assuming. I'm saying the ones that I have seen are AI slots.
Great.
Because
Ones I've seen or not.
Ones that were talked about as AI slots.
All right, guys. Let's try to let's save it for the end of the world, shall we?
If that ever comes back.
How about at the very least, let's save it for the pub. Deal?
Fair.
Tonight, is it finally happening? Is Kathleen Kennedy actually gonna be kicked out of Lucasfilm and replaced? And what else is going on in Hollywood? Well, a whole bunch of stuff, but all this we gotta talk about right now on the Entertainment Information Intelligence Podcast. Oh, crap. And welcome once again to tonight's Entertainment Information Intelligence Podcast. I'm Petey York, joined by Mr. Corione, Witch in Residence, and Mr. Pollo Zapatos. We are waiting the arrival, of course, of Mr. Kamran Pasha. I've sent him an email. Corione, if you just want to double check, follow up, make sure he's aware of it.
I'm conversing with him right now.
Oh, perfect. Not that we need him right this second. We got plenty of news to go through.
Yeah, he's actually asking for a link to the live stream so we can share it out on his Patreon. So we're probably going to have some Patreon visitors here soon too.
Excellent. Simon Dust says, not breaking news. Papa Dusk still hates autumn. Yes, definitely. Okay. I need to get the background music.
It's winter. It's not autumn.
Okay, and to be fair, I haven't been attacked by mosquitoes in like a couple of months now, so I'm kind of okay with it.
Yeah, we still got a little bit of a skeeter problem here in South Florida, but you know what? We manage. Yeah, so we've got quite a bit of stuff to get through. Cameron's gonna get his situation ready, and once he's ready to go there, we'll jump right in on that. So we're gonna go ahead and get started on some of the stories for the information portion of this this podcast. Yeah. All right. Walt Disney World in 2026. New and updated attractions, event dates, and details. So what's coming new? How is Walt Disney World going to try and get you to spend your money at their parks? Walt Disney World has revealed a wonderful new look at what to expect from the most magical place on Earth in 2026, and it includes exciting updates to Frozen Ever After, Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run, Soarin', and more. Magic of Disney Animation rock and roller coasters starring the Muppets, the return of Cool Kids Summer, and a ton of other experiences to look out for. There is a lot planned for Walt Disney World in the coming months, so we thought with the help of Disney Parks blog that we'd create a Walt Disney World 2026 guide that'll help you plan. All right, well, let's see, what have we got here? New Frozen adventure. Well, that's
I mean, that'll be good for the kids.
That's great. Yeah. For those of you that have kids that are into Frozen, congratulations. I'm sure you guys will enjoy this. 2026 Epcot International Festival of the Arts. Crap, this suddenly interests me for some reason. Might not have something to do with my current line of work. Well, Festival of the Arts, when's that? January 16th to February 23rd. Oh, that's too early for me. That's also during my season. All right, well, what else we got? International Flower and Garden Festival. Ooh, H. Marie might like that one. Yeah. March 4th through June 1st. All right, I got a chance. I can do a field report for that.
Big Thunder Mountain Railroad is reopening. That's cool.
Good. Okay, everyone was worried they were going to demolish it when it shut down. Or maybe that was just fear porn to make sure, hey, do people actually want the ride or can we replace it?
Yeah.
You can't get rid of Thunder Mountain.
Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger. I've been told that the blasters on this are much better now.
Really?
So,
no more of the
yeah.
The practice gun? Yeah.
No.
Not doing this next to your kid anymore?
No,
that's probably
they've upgraded it.
That's probably more family friendly. I don't know why we didn't see that in the first place.
But I've trained for so long.
Your whole life, bro. Yeah.
Well, not my whole life. That would be pretty disappointing.
What, since you were about like 12, 13? Yeah.
Look. Gentlemen. There is something to be said for a blaster that lets a man in his midlife crisis 40s gun down targets. But come on. What is somebody at this stage in the modern day truly spent most of their time doing that they're going to be better prepared for to outscore their kids on?
See, I was always holding the gun in one hand and going like this.
Doing your...
Right?
All right, so
I guess I was just doing it wrong the whole time.
Less crude weaponry expected on the Buzz Lightyear ride. Thank the Lord, or Lords, whichever you prefer.
Yeah.
Lords, ladies, maybe both at the same time.
Well, I mean, at this point, I would say that Bob Iger is the Lord of Disney, so...
Fair enough.
Yeah. Technically.
Okay, but I'm not thanking him anytime soon.
So they're putting Bluey into the parks, which is not a bad idea overall. I mean, for people with kids, Bluey is love. Bluey is life. So having that available is a good idea.
Yeah.
Oh, well, dude, as somebody who has had to go through the modern slop, Bluey is not. I've watched all 3 seasons on Netflix or whichever channel it's on, probably 7,000 times.
Yep.
And I can tell you, I'm only annoyed because there's no new episodes.
That's it.
Yeah.
Disney Animation off the page. I stayed at the Art of Animation Hotel when I go because it's probably, in my opinion, one of the better options. And the fact that they're putting additional resources into making that viable doesn't sound like a bad idea either.
All right. Simon Does 6453 says, I'd take mosquito scum over Autumn. Disney will probably kidnap my cat and demand $10 million. Oh, don't worry. They'll get desperate for that money soon enough. But yeah. All right. We got Muppets Rock and Roller Coaster coming out too. That's probably
that's
fun,
probably
I
a good
imagine.
plan. Yeah.
Yeah. The Mandalorian and Grogu join Millennium Falcon Smugglers 1. All right. This is the part that I've probably kind of, sort of, maybe wanted to know all the information about, because this might be what entices me to finally go to Galaxy's Edge. Yes, I mean, for the 5 people that know me from 20 years ago, you'll be surprised to know that I actually have not been to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge at neither Walt Disney World nor Disneyland in Anaheim, California, because it just looked like it sucked, to be perfectly honest.
Well,
because it was actually the Acolyte's Edge.
Right.
Well, but here's the fun
Ray's
part.
Edge.
Here's actually the fun part, guys. They've gotten rid of Kylo Ren and Rey from the character walkarounds.
Did you
and
almost say?
They've gotten rid of Kylo Ren and Rey Skywalker as characters walking around the park.
She is not a Skywalker. We don't...
I know.
We have talked about this behind the scenes, Corey. We do not blaspheme on this network so blatantly.
I agree, but that is the character names that they're
either.
using. And they are replacing them with Luke Skywalker. And they're replacing with Obi-Wan Kenobi, young and old.
It's almost like they finally figured out where their bread is buttered.
Right? Add to it that they are updating Smuggler's Run.
Right. Which is what I'm going to get into now.
Yeah. Go
All
for
right,
it.
so here we go. The Mandalorian and Grogu is set to being Star Wars back to the way to go, Incontinent Gaming Network. Is set to being Star Wars back to, which actually maybe it's not. Maybe it's actually a subtle piece of brilliance in this typo, because let's be honest, Star Wars in its current state of being hasn't really been Star Wars for a while. So I'm just kidding. That's not what that guy was thinking at all. The Mandalorian and Grogu is set to being Star Wars back to the movie. Okay, it does still work though for the movies for the first time since 2019 on May 22nd. But that's not all. Our favorite pair from that galaxy far, far away will be up on that day, or will be up to on that day. There will be a new mission in Hollywood Studios' Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run at Disneyland, where Hondo Ohnaka catches wind of a deal on Tatooine between ex-Imperial officers and pirates, setting the stage for a high-stakes chase across the galaxy. Guests will team up with Mando and Grogu to track them down and claim a bounty in a dynamic galaxy-spanning adventure. This new choose-your-own-adventure style will let engineers take care of Grogu, and it may take guests to Coruscant, Tatooine, Bespin, or Endor. Yo, let's go. I'm now there. Those are the planets. Those are the destinations. All original trilogy locations. Shit. To learn
those
more.
are the only ones that I can remember off the top of my head for the most part. Like, Bespin is probably one of the most iconic, despite it being the shortest lived of all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you remember Bespin because you were riding shotgun with me for Star Wars Jedi Knight 2 Jedi Outcast, and a good portion of that game's climax takes place on Bespin when you save Lando, and then you take him and aboard his ship, the Lady Luck, to Bespin, and then you got a free Bespin from Imperial Control again.
Yep.
And then you go and find out that your girly friend might not actually be dead. And that's, yeah. Oh, man, Jedi Outcast is such a great game.
Yep.
So.
Simon Dusk, it is... So this ride is kind of a hybrid game. It adds a bit of a choose-your-own-adventure mix to the ride. So you actually select a crew to crew the Millennium Falcon, and the decisions you guys make affect the ride. So it is kind of a game ride hybrid.
Yep. Dahlia Lightwood 563 says, "Hey, greetings everyone." Hello,
hey,
Dahlia Lightwood. Good to see you. Yes. The news is getting there that KK may actually be there. We're waiting for Kamran Pasha to get here to talk about the Sparrow news regarding it, but I've been seeing like a lot of non-blob channels picking this shit up, and a lot of normie channels are even picking this shit up. So it sounds like, yeah, we'll get into the intel portion when Cameron gets here for the intel. Back to the info though. In the meanwhile, regarding staying on the Star Wars subject. So yeah, we're going to Coruscant, Tatooine, and Endor. To learn more, we had to expand to... Okay, throughout the mission, we're going to be giving the engineers the opportunity to actually get to communicate with Grogu, Kalama said. So we think it's going to be a ton of fun. There may be times when Mando is to be deboard the Razor Crest and Grogu is left to his own devices, might get a little happy on the control panel. Man, okay, work on your writing. So, we love the idea of there being these fun little vignettes and moments where you're sort of on the comm with Grogu. Yeah.
That's kind of a cool idea.
Actually, overall, so we are going back to classic Star Wars, but we're also going back to Mando, but we're also, alright, that is the one thing that might get me excited to see a Star Wars poster in the movie theaters again, is KK being gone.
I don't know. I just rewatched some of the parts. My son's watching Mandalorian, so I've been rewatching them as he keeps going through the episodes, and I'm not paying attention the whole time. But I'm hyped more for Mando and Grogu, and I've noticed that surprisingly, the Disney Star Wars Instagram is finally starting to focus on the things people actually like.
Yeah.
It took them a lot of years to ever get there, meaning all of Disney's ownership years until today. But they're on the right track.
Yeah.
I'm excited for this movie more than anything because it's the second Star Wars movie I get to take my son to. Shout out to
Fair.
Revenge of the Sith 25th edition.
So, and Soarin'. Now, Soarin' is actually one of my favorite rides at Epcot.
I enjoyed the Sword over California at California Adventure myself.
There you go.
In celebration of the United States 250th anniversary, Epcot and Disneyland Soarin' will transform into Soarin' Across America. This new bi-coastal offering will showcase the United States from sea to shining sea, highlighting some of the country's natural beauty and iconic cityscapes. Yeah, right. It's gonna be, most of it's gonna be freaking Eastern Seaboard, Boston, New York, did I say Boston already? Yeah, and New York, and probably like a couple of shots of Miami. And then they're gonna hit like freaking like one city in Texas, and then the rest of it's gonna be California, maybe Portland, maybe Seattle. But they're not gonna, come on, they're gonna fly over the whole. No, they're not.
Okay, so hear me out. Hear me out on one thing.
Soaring over America, more like.
The fun part about Soaring is that they also throw the smells of what you would smell as you're flying over an area. I don't know if I want to smell New York again. I lived there long enough.
I know. And I know that Key West is going to get snubbed because we always get snubbed. Our goal was...
What would it smell like other than certain herbal substances?
Booze and,
Booze, lube, and bad decisions. I mean...
Booze and wannabe rock stars.
There you go.
Yeah. Gold offers guests a sampling of the diversity of America's beauty and urban wonders with the hope it would paint an emotional portrait of the nation's semi-quintessential celebration. Yeah. I'll believe it when I ride it and see it. But it's going to be like 20 minutes of freaking East Coast and West Coast, and then like 30 seconds of, oh yeah, here's the farms. And then
30 seconds of the flyover state.
This is where all the Republicans live. Nobody likes them. Anyway. Dahlia says Vegas will smell like dust and weed. Yep.
There you go.
Dust, weed, and the evaporation of hopes and dreams.
If I'm not getting shot down over Area 51, what's the point?
Yeah, right. Dahlia, if you're interested in that smell, I dare you to visit Vancouver.
Absolutely. No, Vegas is not. It's actually not that smelly. I would live there again. Yeah. Of course, I don't want to be flying over.
Have a smell when the heat nukes you every single summer.
Fair.
It actually nukes us more down here. All right. Turning now to Babylon 5 news for the 1/3 of us in this panel that are excited.
Hey man. This has been a thing that's been going on for a while, though. So.
I know. Babylon 5 fans are hoping Netflix's big money acquisition of Warner Bros. Means the chances of continuation of the much-loved sci-fi series will improve. But creator J. Michael Straczynski has calmed excitement, insisting there's a long road ahead for any positive developments. Warner Bros. Owns Babylon 5, which has remained largely dormant since the iconic space opera ended in 1998 after 5 seasons. Despite efforts to get a revival off the ground, nothing new appears to be in the works. But some fans have expressed hope that Netflix may be interested in Babylon 5 should its deal to buy Warner Bros. Go through. However, Straczynski outlined the many hurdles Babylon 5 must overcome before Netflix, or any company for that matter, might greenlight its return. Well, that's... Corion, did you actually get a chance to read this article all the way through? Would you like to summarize for us?
I mean, yeah, so the basics of what's going on is JMS for the last about 5 or 6 years has been trying to get a revival series going for Babylon 5. But between the CW shutting down, between the nonsense with Warner Brothers going on, it hasn't been able to get any traction. Now, the interesting part is that he's been able to prove time and time again that there is still a fan base for this. Every time he's released new content, it's gotten more than enough views to get attention. So the hope is that with Netflix's general attitude of, green light anything, he's got a shot of getting at least a season of a revival going with new actors, because most of the actors are gone and done. But hopefully to bring back that kind of feel, but updated to the modern day. On top of that, because of how the show worked, okay, every character was written with what they called a trapdoor plan. So let's say they wanted to keep an actor, but the actor had to leave the show for whatever reason. The plot was altered so that they had kind of like a going away plot and bring in like a character to replace it. He's hoping that this new revival one would be able to be done without any of the trapdoors being activated. So we'd get to see what the original intention of the series was. So that's kind of a cool idea.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's fantastic. I mean, like, one of the big things is, I don't know who in our audience has finally decided to start watching Stargate, because Corian brought it up when we first started this, but I finally gave it a chance a couple weeks ago, and he was 100% right. So as far as Babylon 5 is concerned, I'm already on board to finally start that one when I finish Stargate, but it would be nice to just skip to the newest graphics if it doesn't mess with the storyline. But if it does mess with the storyline, then I'll go back and finish that before the first episode comes out. So Netflix, if you're wondering where your bread could be buttered.
Now, I am going to say, if only for the chewing on the set Shakespearean level lines delivered by classically trained actors, do check out the original Babylon 5. It is worth taking a look at. I would probably skip the pilot and go straight into the first season, but if you're looking for like a really good watch order, I have that too.
See, that is to me exactly why I liked the Stargate thing. Is I was like, I've never seen this, and I went to the first movie, and it was 1994 when it was released.
Yep.
So it's as old as I am, and I was like, I was deprived, because it is right up there with Expanse. It's right up there with Foundation. It's right up there with Star Wars and Star Trek.
And right out of the gate too.
From that movie in 1994.
I see what you did there.
And then the TV show.
Right.
Is so much more than that movie could have ever dreamed of.
That's it.
Like, it's amazing. And so, like, even if I go into Babylon 5 hearing that it is supposedly literally just, we're going to re-improve all the graphics and we're going to make all the lines basically the same and hire the actors equivalent to the ages that they are now, I'd still want to go back, because one, Corian doesn't recommend a bad show, and two, it feels like there's a lot of love. If the, like, name another time where the writer goes, I hear you, but hold your horses.
Yeah.
Like Star Wars, they were like, yeah, we brought it back. We for sure are exactly as good as Lucas. And then everybody was like, but you're not. And they were like, yes, we are. Yes, we are. Whereas this dude is like, nobody said anything to me. I hear you, but nobody said anything to me. So please do not get your hopes up until it's time. I'll let you know.
That's it. JMS is probably one of the best writers in, I would argue, in media right now. He's done some incredible work, and all of his stuff takes on this like epic Shakespearean Odyssey kind of vibe, but sci-fi, right? Like his run on Thor, his run on Superman in the comics is probably the best of those two. So I would argue that it's worth a shot, right? So,
yeah.
And you can take that to the bank, because I am.
Dahlia Lightwood says, believe it or not, I don't even gamble. When you live here, you get sick of it. The odds are on the house. That's how they make their money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've known that for, like, every time I've ever heard any movie.
Still gonna do it anyway.
but like that to me, I think is the most fair scam that there is out there when they say the house always wins and you go, but not against me. And it's like,
I'm going to
well,
try
you're
it
the
anyway.
idiot.
Yeah, exactly. All right,
That's
switching to Gotta Catch 'Em All news. Pokemon fans expect a Gen 10 reveal next month. Fat Pikachu heralds anniversary celebrations. I guess we got this little video thing here.
Hey, chubby Pikachu.
I didn't know I was older than Pokemon. Anyway.
So, I mean, Pokemon is a global franchise, right?
Yeah.
And it's been, definitely part of pop culture for quite a while now. And I think, anything that comes up about a 30th anniversary and what they got planned, we should be paying attention.
That's the thing. It's one of those things that, I didn't realize it had caught on so quick. But as far as like one of those marketing ploys and yeah, of course it's a staple of pop culture, but came about in 96, and I think by 97, 98, every kid knew what it was. So, that says a lot to the trend of what card games can actually do and what a good, system of and I mean, of course, it's stayed relevant since. I mean, what do we have now? We got Pokemon's Go's and whatever.
Well, dude, I would say that the craziest thing about Pokemon that proves that it is a classic is it was a part of the Satanic Panic. So, like, if you can write a story so good that the Americans think that it might be infected by Satan, you're onto something.
I mean, that's probably what did it, though. That got the viral marketing they needed was to get on board. Oh, jeez, man. Yeah.
Well, if you remember, the reason why it was part of
this was coming to kill us all. This was Satan coming back for us, guys, right here.
Well, yeah, because it was evolution.
Hide your children, hide your wives, man.
You Christians and your belief in an absolute evil. It's so cute.
Christian hysteria is so
literally
cringe.
Just because the Japanese word for evolution translated perfectly over to evolution, and there was that whole schoolhouse debate about schools teaching evolution, and it's still ongoing because the Christians can't lose. They just say Satan won. I don't know how that makes sense, but that's
dude. It's this narcissistic silliness of we're chosen. You're specially chosen. But you're also the worst thing that ever existed. But for 1995, you just say this one ritual, and Jesus comes into your heart, and you're good for life. Oh, but by the way, there's more. And I'm in sales, okay? I've somehow managed to hold a whole year in a sales job. The difference between what evangelicals try to sell you and what I can sell you is you're going to be happy with your artwork when you wake up every day. Not judged or feeling like you're looking at an eternal damnation just because you looked at boobs once and got a little bit excited because they weren't your wife's.
All I can say is y'all need Odin. I mean, what else can I say?
It's funny.
It's fair.
Oh,
That's
man.
fair because, I mean, a society that spends most of its time ashamed of itself leads to what we've got.
It's not even ashamed over, like, okay, shaming people for things like, oh, I don't know, rape and murder is a good thing. But over card games? Really?
Overzealous shaming because the Japanese said something evolves.
I believe in the biggest, bestest God ever. Oh my God, cards!
Well, I always find it amusing. I believe in the biggest, bestest God ever. And yet you're terrified of someone else's.
Terrified of Seth MacFarlane making a joke about Jesus. Oh man, it's the end of the world because people are allowed to say things.
'Cause
Of
it
course.
might confuse my kids because I'm actually not very good at leading and teaching.
Right.
Yeah.
No, it's
All right, but at any rate, I do think that, Pokemon doing something big for the 30th anniversary, probably releasing a new game, and
releasing a new
probably,
Hysteria.
and probably releasing a animated something is probably wonderful, and it'll probably go over quite well.
Honestly, the
Yeah.
biggest, funniest thing they could do is Satanamon,
Right?
their new savior.
Right. Yeah, the
Kills
new
Mewtwo in
good
one
guy.
hit.
Just 100% troll. Well, I mean, they did that in freaking Dragon Ball Z, where like one of the characters was named Mr. Satan. And the funniest part is there's a scene in it where they're all where the fans are like, when he comes out on to fight this one dude, and they're all like all the fans are chanting like, "Hail Satan, hail Satan," and you just sit there going like, yes, thank you. And like they even parody this in Dragon Ball Z Abridged, where like one of the characters goes, "Do you think they know what they're chanting?" And then they start doing, and he's like, "Yeah, they know," and they're still doing it.
One of my favorites though is probably got to go to South Park when Satan's gonna fight Jesus, and it looks like he's gonna win, and so everybody ends up betting on Satan, and so when it comes the day of the fight, Satan throws the fight, and the lesson of the episode is don't bet on the devil because you'll lose.
Right?
And it was like, okay, that was like way better of a Sunday school lesson than like 99% of the ones I attended growing up. Okay, 98%. Right. It wasn't a total waste.
Dude, imagine watching that in Sunday school and they go, "This is the conundrum," and using it as a teaching tool rather than beating people for listening.
What did Satan do in that episode? He used marketing, he used optics, he lied to the people and got everybody to think he was gonna win, and then threw the fight and took all their money.
Like, yeah.
Because he was the only one that bet against himself.
He's the only one that bet on Jesus to win. Satan. Which is actually kind of more appropriate if we get into it on another show. All right. Back to Wonder Man. Can it save Hollywood? I don't know. All I saw was that there's a trailer and we're going to watch.
Yeah, let's do it.
You got this, man. You just got to go out there and crush it.
What, full screen mode is unavailable? Stand by 1 second.
Yeah, no worries.
Gonna go over.
I'm gonna message Cameron and make sure everything's going okay.
We miss you. All right, here we go. Trailer time. John's favorite thing.
Director, this is the wall. It's everything. If I get this close and I miss,
I'm gonna need you to sign this to confirm you don't have superpowers.
Yeah. I need to be in this movie. Zah! I was born to play this character.
Acting is the sum of everything you've experienced. The joy, sadness, loss, heartbreak.
The Department of Damage Control considers Simon Williams an extraordinary threat.
What?
Are you gonna use super speed or what?
I'm gonna use my car, Trevor.
Does that mean you do or do not have super speed?
Let's go!
So to me, this 100% looks like Power Without Responsibility. And that sounds like a hilarious way to lampoon Hollywood.
It looks like it could be, yeah. It could be. Dahlia Lightwood says it looks funny. Yeah. I mean that. Well, you know what? Why don't we bring in someone who probably has a thought or two.
Our Hollywood expert.
Our Hollywood expert, yes, Mr. Kamran Pasha has joined the podcast. How are you doing this evening, sir?
Hey, happy New Year, gentlemen. It's good to see you all.
Happy New Year.
Good to see you too.
So power without responsibility is largely the defining phrase of Hollywood. So yeah, if you have responsibility in Hollywood, you're the sucker.
Yeah,
you're the sucker.
Right?
You're the fall guy. You're the scapegoat. The guy with the responsibility, the woman with the responsibility is the one who's in trouble. I know from
I thought of
Sounds like being
responsibility
the
in
Coast Guard.
Hollywood as like a game of hot potato. Whoever gets stuck with it at the end burns their hands.
That's exactly right. This is a game of pass the buck and survive. The only skill necessary is the ability to pass that buck in a way that doesn't burn your hand, or pass that boiling, hot potato in a way that doesn't burn your hand. No other skill is required. If you have any other skills that distract from that, you're the one left with the potato.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is you think if Wonder Man is about that, it's going to be a great movie for Inside, or a great TV series for Inside Hollywood.
Well, I mean, look, we haven't had a really good, fun Hollywood critique since Tropic Thunder, right? And that was 2008, so just around the beginning of the Obama era, right? So we're talking about almost 20 years ago, 18 years ago. Right?
Yeah, I would say the only other show that comes to mind, if you hadn't seen it yet, would be Reboot, which was on. We actually followed that one.
I'm not familiar with that at all.
Oh yeah, it was a comedy on Hulu, a sitcom about rebooting a show in Hollywood.
Well, there was Entourage, but the problem with Entourage was that it's the tip of the iceberg, right? So it's very funny, but it doesn't get as dark as Hollywood gets, right?
Fair.
Literally, you got people getting into crazy circumstances. Entourage. You don't have a lot of dead bodies from what I remember that show, right? You don't have a lot of intelligence agents running around and people's brake lines being cut if they investigate studio heads' personal lives. You don't have that aspect of the story.
It doesn't have the
So are we
Sopranos
saying
aspect.
Argo?
I'm sorry?
Are we saying Argo was a critique on Hollywood?
No, Argo, which is a great movie, but Argo was a CIA propaganda film. And so that was its purpose, right? I mean, it was a CIA propaganda film about a CIA propaganda film. It's really very meta, right? It's extremely meta, right? And in fact, to his credit, the director Ben Affleck, who's a superb director, much better director than an actor, although he refuses to accept that truth, right? So Ben Affleck, to his credit, he's actually very, very knowledgeable about the Middle East. I actually talked to him once at a Hollywood screening thing, and he actually had a degree in Middle Eastern studies, if you can believe that. He's very knowledgeable.
That's cool.
Right? That's his day. So he is, and so when he got the screenplay from the because I actually have a copy of the original screenplay, it doesn't have this. So when he got the screenplay from the studio saying we want to make this movie, he's like, well, there's no context as to why the Iranian Revolution happened. It's just a bunch of bad Iranian people, good Americans being persecuted, and there's no
nuance.
Yeah, or just revelation of what was happening in Iran. I mean, what the CIA was doing, that the U.S. Embassy was essentially the CIA. What a shock. U.S. Embassy is being used as CIA station badge. That's kind of how it works, right? And in Iran in particular, they were being used to train the Savak, which is the secret police, which is one of the most scariest secret police up there with North Korea, right? Or up there with East Germany, right? It was one of the scariest secret polices of the 20th century, and they were training them along with Mossad, and so that was all coming out of there, and so there was and we had overthrown their government, and so he said, they had a democratic government, we overthrew it, put the Shah in there, and then taught the Shah to torture his people so they stayed in line. So there was a basis for a revolution. The original revolution wasn't actually an Islamic revolution; it was just get this guy out of here, and then it was just chaos and nobody's in charge. So Khomeini's sitting in Paris going, all right, I guess I'm in charge. And he flies back and he just had the manpower to pull that off, right? Because when the boss is gone, nobody's in charge. He's like, I got a militia, I'm in charge. Here we go, right? And so, but Affleck saw that script and said, this is just going to be propaganda against the Iranian people, which isn't fair. Right?
Yeah.
It wasn't. Yeah. He's not necessarily a supporter of the Islamic Republic, but he's like, there's a reason these events happened. And so he put in remember that really beautiful animated sequence at the beginning of Argo? That's not in the script. I have the script. It's not there. He ordered it written and designed to give that, sequence of how what a corrupt, regime the Pahlavis were running. And nowadays, you got a lot of people saying, now the Pahlavis are coming back, but the Pahlavis ain't coming back, brother. You have better chance of reestablishing the Russian monarchy. Better chance of finding Anastasia still alive somewhere, right? Than you have of this Reza Pahlavi clown taking the crown, the peacock throne back in Tehran.
I'm just gonna put it out there. I'm willing to say I'm a Romanov, but
Yeah.
A lot of people
I'll
did.
put this one out there for sure. I think that is the nicest thing I've ever heard about Ben Affleck.
fair
Right.
And the
he's
coolest,
a
for
polarizing
sure the
figure for a lot of
coolest.
reasons. But I will give him kudos. He has been a defender of the Middle East, of Muslim peoples, especially in very hostile environments. He's gone on to Bill Maher, who's very openly, proudly anti-Muslim bigot. He owns it. He is like, Islam is a threat. Muslims cannot be part of America. That's, by the way, that Bill Maher, who's a liberal, that's actually Hollywood's private position. He's just saying what they all believe, right?
Right.
And so Affleck gets on there and he's like, that's wrong. I mean, how can he be saying? And he's literally attacked by everybody. So for whatever other flaws the man may have as a human being, as an actor, as other aspects, I will give him credit that he has done that, which gives him no currency in Hollywood. All the other things that the fans or people critique him of give him currency in Hollywood. Womanizer, that gives him currency, right?
Yeah.
The very thing
but we should get on to the Star Wars.
All right, we will. I'm just giving you context because but
Well,
it's actually important we talked about this because
Yes, it is.
because now let's do the transition from talking about that, right? Let's do the transition from talking about that, because what it is we're talking about context. We start off with the humorous thing of the mockery of Hollywood, and then we're talking about sort of the power structures of Hollywood and how they appear to the general public, and how that's not necessarily what is happening behind the scenes. And the people that are exalted or vilified by the fans don't have necessarily the same currency in the system. So that's our transition from that political topic to the events of today.
But before, let's take a quick break. Word from our sponsors. Stephanie Janicek says, "Hey guys, just checking in." Cosmic Vader says, "Very allegorical Shaw." And the also Veridos Lopez, I think, says, "Hey all, Cameron, you've been missed. Wondering if you're still on Latino Slant. I've still seen you pop up on Latino Slant."
Yeah,
so.
I mean, Latino Slant is really aggressively expanding. God bless them. It's such an incredible channel, and they've become more than a channel. They're essentially becoming a media company, and
Nice.
they're really focusing on the stuff that they've got to do, which is their community. So I don't think I'll be on much more. I'll come on every now and then because Paulie's a good friend. But I think it's they have a very specific focus of the kind of stories they want to focus on, and I'm not so sure I always cover that focus. However, I think in a place like Wider Brothers, I think this is a more general conversation about Hollywood.
We're gonna get you on here at least once a month with your own hour or two to have. I know I've been talking about this and saying that it's gonna happen, and then life decides, haha, no, it's not. Yeah, well, I'm finally at a point where I can go, haha, yes, it is. But more on that when I can finally sit down to plan on what that's going to look like. For the meanwhile, and of course, shout out to Simon Does 6453. Good to see you guys all here too. We appreciate you in the comments section. We appreciate you guys lurking. So yes, and now back to the news. So real quick, I'll throw the post on screen, the scoop about what the post-Kennedy future looks like. Now, I know, guys, we've talked about this ad nauseum. We've had breaking news specials for like the last 2 or 3 years, and I still stand by what I believe when Cameron gave us that big, meat and potatoes analysis of how the failure of Indiana Jones truly should have been the end of her career, and not even just from a political standpoint, just purely from a numbers and just business perspective. She should have been gone then.
From the traditional Hollywood perspective, even from the Hollywood power structure that we talked about, the hot potato, well, she was left with a hot potato. Yet strangely, even if it burned her hands, she managed to hold on to it, which is interesting, right? So,
yeah, exactly. But what's fascinating here is, and yes, we'll get into the Sparrow news, is the fact that before we even got to like getting the show ready today, I started getting into my feeds on Twitter and on Facebook and on even on YouTube and on the channels, and we've got non-blob sources reporting the possibility of Filoni and the Miss Brennan taking over.
Yeah, Lin-Manuel Brennan. And so let's give some context about this, if I may, PD. So
of course,
this all was all triggered by someone who's been very involved in talk and very aggressively pioneering and talking about Ms. Kennedy's eventual departure. It's Matt Bellany at Puck, right? Which is an independent trade. He used to be the editor of the Hollywood Reporter, left that, created this company, and I think they're you may or may not like their liberal politics, many of you, but I think they're effective in knowing a lot of what's going on, and they're a little bit more willing to talk about the secrets of Hollywood than maybe a Deadline will be, right? Which serves as the protector of those secrets, right? And so if you recall, Bellany last year created a flurry because he reported, based on what he said were multiple sources inside of Lucasfilm that confirmed that Miss Kennedy had made an arrangement to leave. And this was around the summer or so when he reported it, and that she was going to be out in a few months. And this caused huge uproar because then Variety followed up with that and said, yes, our sources also say she's out. And then you had, I think Variety and Hollywood Reporter both said that. But then you had Deadline. She went rushing to Deadline, which is, like I said, the protector of the secrets and protector of the system, right? She went to Deadline and she said, no, I did an interview. It was and basically long, kind of rambling interview, which was used to say, well, she's denying it. And many of the blobs said, look, she's denying she's leaving. No, she simply said, I'm going to leave as we find our successor, which is what Bellany said. So she, hidden beneath all the blah blah, was her admission that her time is running out, right? Which was the first time she had ever admitted that they were looking for a successor, and then all of that. And so months have gone by. My sources have been saying, for those months that she hasn't been in the office. She's essentially a non-figure in the company. Nobody even talks about her anymore, so she has no influence over anything. And then there was this pivotal event, which I think absolutely proved that, which many people in the fandom refused to believe was coming. Gina Carano settled with Lucasfilm, right? Yeah. If you remember that. And people had told me, people on my own Patreon said she's never going to do that. She's fighting for us. I'm like, no, man, she's fighting for her career. So she's going to do what's right for Gina Carano. And I applaud her for doing that, right? But if you recall, this is a woman that was removed for the ultimate accusation, the red letter that you cannot survive in Hollywood, anti-Semitism, right? And Kathleen Kennedy's people had condemned her publicly, and her statements, which I think were misread, but and so how can she be? And then Disney not only settled with her, it said in a very warm press release, we are looking forward to working with her soon. How can the president of Lucasfilm, who publicly condemned her, and Gina Carano be working together soon? One of them can't be in the room with the other. So one of them's got to be going, right? That to me was the further confirmation, right? Because in Hollywood, there's just no way you can have these two people in that room without one of them losing tremendous face, right? And so you have to preserve the face. So I was like, this is now going to accelerate. And so the events of last night at midnight, Korean was startled because he saw my message, and I was like, hey, Korean, stuff's happening, right? And he's like, dude, what are you doing up at 3 a.m. in the morning? Which was 3 a.m. for him, and it was like midnight for me. I was up because I'm late sleeper.
Oh, well, you were excited, man. I mean, it's all good.
I was about to go to bed, and then someone sent me on my Patreon, hey, look, Puck has put out this prediction. Every year they do an annual. Matt Bellany says what I predict is going to happen, and that is a combination of his speculations, his guesses, plus intel that he's been given. And so one of the sort of 10 things there was fun stuff in there, like he predicts Sydney Sweeney is going to be doing male erectile dysfunction pill ads. I think that's probably true, but that's probably speculation.
She is a male erectile dysfunction ad.
And everything she's ever sold, I have bought. Like her bath wash, right? I have it. It's actually good bath wash, right? Like that bath wash. It's really good. I have whatever this woman sells, I'll buy, right? And most people will. And so though that is likely more humorous speculation. However, this was stated that Matt Bellany put out this piece where one of the 10 predictions, the number 2, was that within the next week or two, Lucasfilm will announce the departure of Kathleen Kennedy and announce that she's being replaced by a sort of not a triumvirate, but I guess I think it's a triumvirate in reality, but a sort of a leadership structure where Dave Filoni will supposedly be the head of creative at Lucasfilm, and then Lin-Wyn Brennan, who is a very established executive, has been there for many years, a woman, right, who's been in charge of their business affairs for a long time, right, that she's going to be elevated to managing the business of it, because Mr. Filoni, and I've met the man, he is good at what he does, but much of being a studio head is about dealing with accountants and dealing with investment banks and all sorts of stuff, and I just don't know that he has that training or has that credibility with them. They want a business person, a lawyer, someone they've dealt with, right? And Ms. Kennedy is very effective in being the face of that, and whether she's effective in achieving her goals is another point, but she's effective in presenting herself to the business world as the businesswoman of Lucasfilm.
And it actually makes a lot of sense given Disney's history, because while Walt was the person everyone knew as the head of Disney, his brother was the one who actually made all the financial and business sort of back-end decisions. Where, Walt was the dreamer, his brother was the one that actually made it reality.
Right.
So having somebody that is the dreamer and having somebody else that is I like your dream, but we have to do it in budget, makes a lot of sense.
Exactly. So that was what Matt Bellany put out there. And I put out at 1 a.m. in the morning, my time, 4 a.m. Korean's time, I put out a Patreon report on that and stating that I wasn't sure whether this is speculation or intel. My instinct was in the way he worded his article that it's a little bit more intel than speculation, because he specifically said something that, that he's just stated as a fact, that Ms. Kennedy's PR person was already setting up her exit interviews that are going to be glowing, the Viking funeral at last, right? Everyone's, what a wonderful thing you did, right? And so for him to name that person by name and state that they're doing this, that's going to be embarrassing if that's not actually happening, right? Because that person will call him out and said, I haven't set up any exit interviews. To actually name the person, it means that that's probably factual. And so I said, okay, this feels more like reporting than speculation.
Right.
But I didn't know. And and so I reached out through what I call my backbone network to my codenamed Source Sparrow, right? Who is actually, for those of you who are not subscribed to my Patreon, our insider who's been giving us insights for almost 3 years now, I think. They actually agreed a couple of months ago of their own volition, and they brought up the idea, I can do some Q&As for your Patreon. And they've done now a series of Q&As where they've directly addressed my Patreon members' questions. And also, as a result, a lot of what they said in those answers ended up being true as well. So it's more intel. So if you want to join my Patreon, we're actually having another round. I plan to put out a third round of their Q&A tomorrow. And then, maybe they'll do more in the future. I have a couple more rounds of just the questions they've already asked to put out. But so I reached out to them. And again, you don't know when they're going to respond because we have a system in place where they never contact me directly, so that, there's never a trace on their phone or computer contacts that can ever be traced back to me, which would then get them fired, right? We have a complicated method that we've created that has sustained itself where we preserve distance. So I don't know. Yes.
Given the code names, I would imagine it involves like carrier pigeons and smoke signals.
Stuff like old school Ottoman carrier pigeons. They were very good. The Turks were very good carriers, right? Follow Zapatos, because I know you have a military background. You know the history of that kind of communication, right? So it's but they got back to me actually very fast through that network. I was able to get back information. And so that's what I put out on my Patreon today. If you want to pull it up, we can talk about some of the major points, because they do not fully confirm exactly what he said. They don't necessarily deny it, but they provide context as to what's happening. And they also give new information as to what the creative plans are for Lucasfilm in a post-Kennedy world. Some of it was quite surprising. So this isn't just like regurgitated, Bellany is right. That's not what this is. But, Bellany is probably closer to the truth than he is not. And so we can look at what they said.
Yeah. So you mentioned, Sparrow's biggest takeaways were, we've got a zombie Star Wars Halloween special. So if we jump right to the end,
let's actually start at the top and let's go like paragraph by paragraph.
Well,
we can start, because I think the audience wants to know who is the successor. That's probably the more priority for them.
Well, and that's what we don't. that's what I was going to get to. That's why I was just starting with kind of like okay, this is what happens after. But who the successor is, you're right. They don't really confirm it one way or the other.
Because honestly, they don't personally know yet. So what they told me is yes, because Bellany says there's an announcement in the works. Within the next 2 weeks, it will be in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be February. Maybe it'll be March. I don't know. But there is an announcement that has been written. However, and they are aware that some announcement about the future of Lucasfilm status and executives has been written. They are aware of this.
Yeah.
I'm sure others in the company are aware too. However, the actual content of that announcement is literally being kept top secret.
Yeah.
So it's a very small circle of people. They are not in that circle. They haven't read the document.
Yeah.
And they're honest about it, right? They haven't read the announcement. So they can only go by what is rumored and what they're hearing from other people, what they think is in there. But there is an announcement about the future of Lucasfilm executive structure coming.
Yeah. So what Sparrow is personally hearing is that Brennan is indeed being prepared for a leadership inside the post-Kennedy regime. The talk is that she will be given power over the business aspects of the studio and will have authority over industrial light and money, Skywalker sound, and every aspect of the business where Lucasfilm sells its services to the broader Hollywood industry. Sparrow cannot confirm yet that Filoni will be the titular head of Lucasfilm, but they believe that Dave is indeed slotted to be the official creative boss, which makes sense. He already is an official creative boss now. He already holds one of those titles. He's like the official creative consultant or chief creative officer. Thank you, H. Marie.
He was
from the
given that
background.
title. I believe it was last year that
Yes.
he was given that title, which was some kind of promotion.
Yes. But they hear Jon Favreau will continue in his current role as Shadow President, not officially the boss, but the true power behind the throne, who everybody, including Filoni, will defer to. This frees Favreau to continue his filmmaking career at other studios without being chained to a desk job. Of course, the secret announcement could name Favreau in an official position, but Sparrow is leaning towards him ruling from the shadows.
So let's stop there, PD. So
Yeah.
so that's interesting to me because there was disappointment on my Patreon when people saw the Bellany article. They said, "Well, why isn't Jon Favreau the official studio head?" And I wrote back and said, "I've never reported, to my knowledge, I don't recall that I did, but I certainly don't believe it. I've never reported that he's going to be the official head because I've always said this man's a filmmaker. This man is a director first and foremost, right?
And
I'm sorry, PD, go on.
just real quick, good night to Stephanie. Have good sleep.
Good night, Stephanie. I know. And so he, I'm a filmmaker too. I'm a writer. I'm a director. While there's the temptation of becoming James Gunn and running a studio, I think we're already witnessing that position actually doesn't help you be a better filmmaker. I don't think it has, and it actually worsens the business situation of the studio because you're not focused on the studio. You're just focusing on promoting your own project. So that every filmmaker's fantasy of controlling the studio doesn't actually benefit the filmmaker or the studio, right? And we're seeing that with Mr. Gunn. And I think as Warner Brothers transitions over to Netflix or whoever ends up finally owning it, I don't think Mr. Gunn will retain that position, and I don't think he wants to after being kind of derailed a little bit on his filmmaking ambitions, and because he has to supposedly run a company now, right? Which is not really what he wants to do. And I think Favreau doesn't want to do the day-to-day of running a company. He wants to be the spiritual successor of George Lucas, right? He wants to be the one that keeps the fire alive, keeps the lightsabers burning for another generation, right?
Him and Filoni together, I think, kind of share that vision.
Sure, exactly. Well, Filoni has always been a company man. He's always imagined himself to be the continuer, the heir, but he's never had the delusion to think that he has the power as a filmmaker to be at George Lucas's level. He has ambitions, like he's still trying to get his first feature film made. Like he keep talking about the Filoni movie that I don't know is ever going to happen, right?
Right.
I would even argue that Filoni as a visionary person begins and ends at Star Wars, and there are more properties to Lucasfilm than Star Wars. Yeah. Which, by the way, Sparrow's going to talk about those properties shortly. Oh, okay, perfect.
Yeah. So that's the thing is that Mr. I don't know that he's, haven't seen any evidence that he's involved in any way in really guiding Indiana Jones or anything else, right? He's a Star Wars guy. He was raised in the animation of Star Wars. He did get tutelage from George Lucas directly in that storytelling. But Jon Favreau started off as a great filmmaker, it had nothing to do with genre pieces long before he came into Marvel and then Lucasfilm, right? It's just one of the great filmmakers of our time. And so he wants the flexibility and the freedom. So I would be startled if the announcement, when it is made, has him as the CEO or has him be anything beyond like a strategic consultant or senior consultant, senior advisor, senior visionary, whatever, because that to tie him into like James Gunn can't go make a movie for Disney. He is a contractual obligation to Warner Brothers. I don't know that Favreau wants that limitation on his life. I don't think he wants that at all. And so it would startle me if he did that. And I don't think we should expect it. And that's where Sparrow is leaning. But we may be surprised when the announcement comes out and he has a role that's official. I just don't see it. Yep. And my friend who's a close member of his crew, who's been working on his most recent project he's been doing this summer, didn't seem to feel that he wanted to be tied down with a golden chain to Lucasfilm forever.
Yeah. Also, a quick word from one of our sponsors, Simon Dust 6453, one of our up and coming Rockstar mods. Good night to you as well. Have a good rest. It's I think tomorrow. Good night, brother. Over where he's at. All right. So we get into the next, the last sort of final portion. That's kind of something that those of us on this panel want to pay close attention to. Finally, Sparrow says that Lucasfilm is looking to expand beyond the franchises it controls, Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Labyrinth. It is actively looking to buy new IP, books, video games, etc., that can craft into shows and movies. Favreau wants to find projects that fit the original passion that George Lucas had for pulp stories that inspired Star Wars and Indiana Jones. The ideal kind of project would be something like The Rocketeer, which started as a pulp comic book and was turned into the 1991 movie by Disney.
Yeah,
I don't know if Galaxia is exactly what they're looking for, but I definitely need to publish that second edition.
Well, I mean, you never know, right? I mean, put it out there. You don't know. They're out there. They are aggressively looking for something. I mean, Rocketeer, I don't know how popular those, you guys probably know comics better than I do. It was a comic from the 80s, right? It was a comic in the 80s. It won an Eisner Award, so it did get some attention. Okay. But it wasn't like, it didn't blow anyone's socks off, right? Well, like, it wasn't like on the tongue of people, like on the tip of their tongue as I'm gonna completely disagree.
Rocketeer blew my socks off
at
because
the movie.
The year it came out, I actually went as the Rocketeer.
Oh, okay. So you knew it.
Fair enough. But what I'm saying is, though, like in the comic book world, in terms of marketing and whatnot, it caught attention for being like an interesting artistic piece, but it wasn't exactly flying off the shelves. Like, kids were not running to the comic store to pick up every new edition as it came out until the series ended.
But it was an existing, but that's exactly the kind of thing looking for. Like, an existing IP that's probably not too expensive, because as people on the Patreon said, these guys are kind of broke, right? Yeah, they are kind of broke. So I don't know that they'd even want to pay for Disney to let them have Rocketeer, right? Which I think Disney cell phones, because it's probably more valuable now, right? And so they're looking for stuff. Someone in my Patreon made a suggestion, which I think is brilliant. So if because we know some of our Lucasfilm people sometimes spy on these videos, right? So if they're watching, guys, Tales from the Gold Monkey. Remember that show from the early 80s? Gold Monkey. It was on one season, right? And it starred that gentleman who later went on to Seventh Heaven and then got kind of canceled afterwards for inappropriate. Yeah. But
I mean, I would
the days before that. So
I would argue that some sort of Arabian Nights story might also work really, really well. But
yeah, Cosmic
if
Vader
only
says,
we knew some incredible writer that was doing a project like that.
Cosmic Vader says, could they be interested in King Solomon, Jinn Hunter, asking for a friend?
Well, I've got my Jinn movie, which starts off with Solomon, enslaving the Jinn to create the temple, right? So those stories are out there, my friends. But at least start with what you can, because that was my understanding. That was an ABC show, so Disney should own the rights to the Tales of the Gold Monkey, right? Which was essentially made as an Indiana Jones ripoff, right? It was set in World War II with sort of a group of adventurers, who were looking for the first episode is looking for this gold monkey, which is like the Maltese Falcon, right? And then there's like Japanese spies. There's this beautiful Japanese woman, or she's like the queen of this island that's like working as a Japanese spy, and she's trying to seduce the hero all the time, and she was really beautiful, right? I mean, that's a fun pulpy thing, and I think you could resurrect that, so and have fun with it, without it overplaying into Indiana Jones. But that's the kind of thing that exists out there. I don't think they own this, but maybe they could make a deal with Universal, which I know owns this because I tried to get the rights to it. You guys remember Voyagers, that time travel show when we were kids?
Yes. That would be a good one.
The Omni, and that poor guy, that the really handsome actor who was in the show, he ended up dying in a really freak gun accident on his first movie. Do you remember him? Yeah, he ended up, he sort of was fooling. He was Mitchum was his name. I'll remember his Mitchum, but he was very sexy, very attractive. He was being held up as the next sort of like big sex symbol in Hollywood from that show. And then he did his first movie, and in that movie, he was fooling around with he was fooling around with a prop gun, and as a joke in front of the crew, he put it to his head and pulled the trigger and blew his brains out, right? And remember, prop guns are real guns. People don't understand. I've said that on sets because actors get real excited by the prop gun. It feels real fun. I was like, don't play with it. It's not a toy. It can kill you.
It's a firearm.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a firearm, and the blank can kill you, right? And the blank blew his brain out, right? And literally, you just like everyone's standing there like, I guess the movie's canceled, right? They're standing there, the crew's like watching him blow his brain out. Like, what do we do now, right? So Eric, but I'll figure it. He was a very handsome guy.
Yeah.
But he was the star of that show with a kid, and they were like time travelers going back and fixing history, whatever. And it was such a wonderful show. Like, that's the kind of thing that I think you could resurrect as a family show today.
Yeah. Dahlia Lightwood says, I just want new Disney stuff. I'm sick of their stupid remakes and reboots and reimagining. Each time I see that they've bought a new franchise, I typically avoid it just out of principle. I don't support regurgitated Disney vomit. New or no support from me, period.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, and I think this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to find something that somebody has written that they can take and turn into something new, right?
Wow.
Well, I mean, like, try to give it the attention that it should have gotten, right? I think is the best way to put it.
Yeah. Stem Cell Activation Patches 2023 says, I loved Voyagers. Great show.
Yeah.
In that case, I would say they should get back on that Aragon train, because those Dragon books were a lot of fun, but that movie sucked butt.
Yeah,
Like,
that's a good option.
Things that flopped and make them good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By
the way, his name was John Eric Hexum, and the young kid was Mino Peluse, who's still an actor today.
Perfect.
Wow.
Yeah. If anyone's looking for something that feels kind of pulpy, but would actually be really good as a TV series or something like that.
Galaxia, it will be republished soon, and it's going to be the bestest book ever. Anyway.
I was actually going to go with Jim Butcher's The Cinder Spires series. If you guys get the chance, it's worth a read. Yeah, it feels like a good steampunk meets magic kind of feel. So,
yeah. Cosmic Vader says it's kind of a Ghost Rider Green Lantern thing. King Solomon's Ring hosts a repenting falling angel who's atoning by protecting humanity from supernatural, like Judas Priest's painkiller. I'm still working out the details, but I have the base structure of the story. Oh, it's pretty good. Dahlia Lightwood says, it's 2026. People are ready for new movies, new ideas, and new franchises. I agree. Why not just hire writers or make new crap? I don't get it. Why are people so in love with crap they've seen already? Please explain appeal and magic of watching something you've seen. Well, it's safe. And I mean, executed correctly, it does work. We can argue, well, in retrospect, Force Awakens was a bad Star Wars movie. And, okay, but that doesn't negate the emotional impact that it had in 2015. I mean, I remember being at the theater, and that's all it was. Star Wars posters, Star Wars posters, Star Wars posters, Star Wars screening, Star Wars screening. It was 1999 all over again.
But, I mean, I think the ultimate piece breakdown is, Hollywood accountants are risk-averse by nature.
Yeah.
And if you can prove that something works, and it has resonance with an audience, that's what they're looking for, right? They're looking for a bet that they can make that is not going to be a boat anchor around their neck.
Yeah, I really miss being able to walk into a movie knowing nothing about it and not knowing the ending or the characters. Well, then I'm going to have to strongly recommend that you check out Pluribus. Without a doubt, the best show to come out of 2025 and certainly one of Apple TV's best products. And absolutely love that one. Fallout, also another great show that we've thoroughly been enjoying, and we're going to be talking about episode 3 for a little bit.
Fallout is a perfect example of, hey, quality IP that has proven itself to be popular, that did not have a movie or TV adaptation as of yet. So let's give it one and do it right.
And the fans of the game loved it, and me not having any information or knowledge of the backstory, absolutely love. Fallout.
So I'm going to make a recommendation because I'm planning to put out a review on my Patreon. I saw it's not genre unless it's a genre of religious historical epic musical. Have you guys heard of this movie? It's in limited release, but I think it's going to be Oscar bait. The Testament of Anne Lee.
I have not heard of this.
But
I'm going to make notes right now.
Yeah, it's limited release. I'm planning to put out a review in the next couple of days. I saw it over the weekend and I was just blown away. Limited release with Amanda Seyfried, who's right now in that babysitter thing with Sydney Sweeney, whatever. Amanda Seyfried is actually one of our great actresses. She started off on Mean Girls. Remember as the weather girl, the silly weather girl, right? Who could check the weather by the feeling her breasts, right? But she went on to become a very sophisticated actress, and this is Oscar level performance. The Testament of Anne Lee is a 2.5-hour historical epic musical set in the 1700s about the founding of the Shakers, who were a mystical branch of the right? But they were like a mystical bunch of Quakers. They moved from England to the American colonies and settled in the Northeast. And they created some of the most incredible furniture that America has ever created. But they had a very specific theology. They were, unlike other Quakers, they were nonviolent. They were pacifists. In many ways, I think some of the most ideal representations of Christians as I think we imagine Christ to be. I think Quakers do represent that, and the Shakers did that too. But they had one thing: they were celibate. So that made propagation of their religion a little challenging, because to join them you had to be celibate. There was no other way. There wasn't like the Catholic Church where you could, if you were celibate, you went out and become a nun or a priest, right? You couldn't get married and have children and be part of it. So the only way you could spread it was conversion, right? The only way. And they still exist today. There were 6,000 of them in their height in the 1800s, and now there's only 2 or 3 left on the planet, right? But there's religion still exists. But the movie is about Anne Lee, who was this young woman who started having visions in London in the 1700s and believed she was the second coming of Christ. And these people were egalitarians. They were true egalitarians. They rejected racism. They rejected slavery. This is the 1700s. And they rejected inequality of men and women. So they had no problem believing a woman could be the second coming of Christ. In fact, they believed it was doctrinally necessary. It was doctrinally necessary because God is neither male or female, or he's both, right? Because man is created in the image of God. Woman is created in the image of God. So if God came as a man once, as Jesus, then he has to come as a woman a second time. And so they believed Anne Lee was the second coming of Christ. And you can imagine that their beliefs got them in trouble in England. And so they went to America, and their beliefs got them in trouble in America. But they were complete pacifists and gentle people who actually revolutionized a lot of American culture, and American Christianity. I think a lot of examples of American charismatic Christianity, Pentecostalists and other traditions that are, that are about direct mystical experience, dance and expression, right? With them. They were the first ones to do it. They were, and it's an amazing biopic of her life. And what it is it's completely non-judgmental. You can walk away believing she's an insane cult leader, or you can walk away believing she was who she claimed to be, or at least believed it, right? And it's non-judgmental, and it's really this beauty, and it's because they recreate all the original Shaker songs and dances, so it's a musical, but it's all spiritual singing, and you're just swept away by it. I walked in there, I was like, what is this movie? And you're just pulled in and swept away. And I'm going to make a crazy prediction. This movie is going to resurrect the Shaker religion. People are going to convert to Shakerism now. There's 3 people left, but now they're like, I might want to be part of this, right?
It's possible. I mean,
And so it's amazing in this movie, and it's done by like this feminist director who wanted to show like an empowered woman in the 1700s who thought she was the second coming of Christ, and people believed her, right? And they created this religion that really transformed American culture, even though there's only 6,000 of them, right? And the movie just blew me away. It blew me away, and it's Oscar level. So I know this is not necessarily the kinds of stuff that all your fans watch, but I think it's really interesting.
We're still figuring out what fans we have who watch what, because we watch. Well, that's the thing. We really do need to start being upfront with our brand, because I just need to start telling people. It's like you're conversing with somebody who enjoys the first 3 seasons of SpongeBob SquarePants just about as much as the audiobook of Isaac Asimov's Foundation. The super boring, dry version that we did a comparison of on this channel to the Apple TV show, which has since changed about. But I do love what Dahlia's saying in here about Indiana Jones 4 and 5 just being, excellent examples of nostalgia gone wrong, and we shouldn't have done that.
And I'm not going to disagree. Cameron, I am going to say this about this this movie you're talking about.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can track down where to watch it. And then
it's limited releases. I could only find one theater in LA that had it.
I've got Cineplex, which is my theater chain up here, says they're getting it. Okay. So after I've seen it, you feel like doing a video with me?
I'd absolutely love to do a video, because you and I talk about spiritual issues as well on your channel, right?
Yeah.
And there's magic and mysticism in this, and it's and what blew me away was I saw it on a 4:00 matinee screening in the one theater that's showing it, the big sort of theater in Van Nuys, the AMC.
Yeah.
It was packed. It was packed with kids, young people. That's what this thing is going to resurrect the religion, because people were like sitting down and the credits are running. They're like, wow, that's really interesting.
I mean, personally, I don't think I could survive the celibacy, but if the lessons are there and they're important, I mean, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, you're sitting there because you think you're not going to identify with these people because they're weirdos. They're total weirdos. And then you
so are we.
Yeah, that's why I was like, look, I'm a weirdo. These people are unabashedly weirdos in the 1700s. And they are unashamed of it, and they will die for being weirdos. But they're basically good people. They're a little crazy, but they're good people. And you're like, well, maybe I hope to be a good person. I am definitely a little crazy. And you see yourself in it.
That's it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm digging it. I'm willing to put in the effort to try to track it down.
Yeah, check it out. It's worth it. And it's really the songs and the dancing, they're beautiful. I mean, I love this era we're entering into where musicals are coming back.
Yes.
You and my wife, my friend. You and my wife.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to we're probably gonna have to talk about. We are definitely talking about 1776 again this year, with it being the 250th anniversary of the greatest country ever established.
Yeah.
And then
this country often forgets that it's the greatest country it ever established. It likes to forget that, but people like us try to remind it.
Dude, that's what we're here to do is keep that fire alive, so we can eventually melt the reality down in Canada, and they can come down and be Americans with us. But anyway,
no, not even close.
Don't worry, buddy. We're going
to officially offer. I am going to officially offer you this, guys. I think you guys have proven your worth. I am more than willing to permit you guys to become the 10th province.
No.
So there we go.
You do know it's going to be like 10, it's going to be like 50 parts of one province, right? And it's going to be the one that stalls everything. You're never going to get anything done.
You guys are only getting like the amount of seats that each province gets, but you guys will just have to figure out your own method for electing them. That'll be the fun part.
Yeah.
So this is the reality. None of you gringos are understanding. Mexico's sitting there waiting. We can take all this back, brother.
That's it, man. Listen,
California was ours. Texas was ours. You stole it from us. That was a temporary land grab.
Listen, there is a joke going that the Mason-Dixon line is where Mexico and Canada are going to split the U.S.
I mean, what can I say? At least then Zorro will again be a national hero.
Oh man, listen, That's a series. That is what Lucasfilm needs to do.
A new Zorro.
Lucasfilm needs to do a Zorro series. That
Well,
would be
had a lot of
fantastic.
these female Zorro series been floating around.
Yeah.
There was actually a good one that before our woke culture began in the early 2000s. Remember the Queen of Swords?
Yeah, it was really good.
It was actually really, really good. It was very much just a female Zorro. It was the exact same story, right? But it was good. They had no politics, and it was just a hot woman with a sword taking on the Spaniards.
Yeah, and I mean, who's going to complain about that? Like at the end of the day, right?
Yeah. Dahlia Lightwood makes mention of Orville being a good Star Trek show, but also being its own, and I have to completely agree there.
Yeah, and I think it was intentionally created as that.
Yeah. Zorro was already made as a movie, and it flopped horribly. Several movies that have flopped horribly.
Yeah, but
actually.
I mean, the Mask of Zorro is a great film. It's
which one is that one?
That's what Catherine Zeta-Jones got.
That's
right.
Catherine Zeta-Jones, Antonio Banderas.
It's a great movie.
Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah. It was a good film overall. Like I will routinely watch that movie, although I watch it to critique the fencing, to be perfectly honest. But
when they have that sexy fence scene between Antonio Banderas and Catherine Zeta-Jones, and where he undresses her with the fencing, right? You can't make that today. But
I wish you could.
One of the most erotic scenes ever done in a family movie.
Yeah, that was the flirtiest scene I think I've ever seen. All right. So man. So do we have any other articles we gotta hit here tonight?
That pretty much covers what I had from my contact. But this is an evolving situation. Who knows? Right. We could have this announcement any day now. It may have information that is, isn't what our person has heard. Then we got to deal with that. Again, I don't guarantee that my contact is 100% right. They don't guarantee that because they said they haven't read the document. The actual announcement could be something that is shocking and different. I don't believe it will be, but it could be. And because they haven't read it, they can't attest to it. All they can give is information they are hearing word of mouth.
Right.
From their
I mean, that's the announcement could be this new Star Wars horror project I've been hearing about.
Right. And that goes back to what, you're asking, what is our channel's brand exactly? Well, it's the Writer Brothers, which is a pretty big umbrella, which it works it's both a blessing and a curse for us. Ultimately,
let's actually reference what Corian mentioned, because you were trying to go to it at the beginning, the Star Wars horror project.
Well, yeah, I was, and so to go along with what that is, we'll get back into the intel here in a quick second.
Yeah.
That's part of what we are. The Entertainment Information Sales Podcast. We're information chasers. We're on the front lines. We talk speculation, and my speculation, before we get into the Star Wars Holiday Horror Special, is that I think this is the year that Kennedy is gone. When, how, what, I don't know, guys. That's what Cameron's trying to say, is that we just don't know. I'm more confident because we have non-blob we got normie channels that are now talking about it. That is not a small.
Trades are saying it. When the trades are saying it, at that point you're like, look, when Variety, Hollywood Reporter, and Puck are saying she's leaving, I mean, at that point, you got to be a little crazy when that's the official voice people of Hollywood are saying it. I mean,
exactly. Exactly. All right. So this was
the last bit here.
Yeah. Creative next steps. Our insider says that the Star Wars horror project they mentioned that was in development some months ago is being fast-tracked. The project is said to be a series about zombie stormtroopers running amok, and is slated to be released for Halloween, either 26 or 27, depending on production realities.
So the good thing is that's been seeded already. We've already seen the
lost our connection momentarily.
Okay.
And hold on, we're reconnecting. All right, I do believe we are back.
Okay. Sorry about that, guys.
There?
A little bit of technical disruption.
Yep.
Okay. So I think I was just saying that there's the zombie trooper story that we'll talk a little bit more about has already been set up in motion. In Star Wars, because you have the zombie stormtroopers were introduced, if people remember, in Ahsoka, right? And they were resurrected, or zombie stormtroopers that the witches had resurrected. And at the end of Ahsoka season 1, we have this mysterious moment where Thrawn is putting all of these boxes onto his command ship, and we don't know what's in them. And the version of the script that my contact read, which of course could have been changed by now, but the version that they read was that those were essentially caskets of stormtroopers or dead soldiers that were going to be used, resurrected by the witches, and be used. So we've already had that set up, right? And so the idea is to make an actual horror series where these things are out there, and it's not, they're out of control, and it's scary because you've got essentially zombies, and that's a horror trope. Go ahead.
There's also 2 novels set in the Star Wars universe that this could follow with too. The first one is Death Troopers, which is following the outbreak of something called the Black Wing virus. It basically creates zombie troopers.
Yeah.
And there's a prequel called Red Harvest, which covers that as well. So this has been done in Star Wars lore before. And we all know that, Filoni's at his best when he's got, existing material to draw from and build from.
Yeah. Shinatsky says, a real Star Wars horror project would be a docudrama on Kennedy's reign.
I mean,
can't get any worse than that.
Back and watch YouTube for the last 7 years.
Right, yeah, just go back and watch our, exactly.
I'm kind of done with it. It's exhausting. I don't want to even, that's why I keep moving forward.
Dude, it's going to be like, at this point, it's going to be like, Fry in the pilot episode of Futurama when, he blows the thing for Happy New Year, like, whatever. Like, I was all ready to excited to party. I'm going to be like, all right, we're really just kind of doing this because we said we would. I mean,
although I am hoping that at the end of it, you have your, if they ever do tell that story, Kamran, you and Sparrow have your like deep throat moment in like a car park or something like that they dress up for dramatic effect.
Oh yeah, no, we'll wrap that bow up when it's supposed to be wrapped up.
That's it.
At the right time.
I have a feeling we'll find out we already know the identity of Deep Throat now. He was number 2 at FBI, right? And I think I have a feeling Sparrow's going to take this one to their grave, right? I don't think I'll ever be allowed to reveal who they are, and that's fine. But just going back to this horror thing, personally, this is just my instinct. I think where this was inspired from originally was, and I know it's controversial. I liked Kenobi. Not a lot of you liked Kenobi. I liked Kenobi. I thought it was fine. I enjoyed it. I personally think
I just thought it was very hit or miss, right? Like some episodes were good, some were really not.
Yeah, and that's fine. Well, I mean, I enjoyed the whole thing. But what I noticed, which a lot of people noticed, and a lot of people commented on, was that Vader was particularly scary in this series. Like the scene when he's hunting down Obi-Wan and trying to get him to come out of hiding on the planet, and he's just killing people with the Force, like children breaking their necks, walking through this village and just torturing people with the Force just to force Obi-Wan to come out, right? It's terrifying because the music was and the way it was, and then I said this was a lot like Halloween. It feels like Michael Myers slowly walking towards people's dooms. And then the showrunner gave an interview where he said he was inspired by Halloween for those sequences. So he was already putting horror into this intentionally, right? And so I think they saw that the fact that it was commented on, that newspaper articles were written about it, interviews were done about the horror element of it, that seemed to, even people that didn't like the show at least noticed that this was interesting and it was scary and well done, and really put Vader out not just as a tyrant, but as a monster, as a really dangerous, terrifying being that he is, right? He's a Sith Lord, with no compassion, and it's beyond the machinations of a tyrant. It's literally someone who can break the neck of a child to get his enemy to reveal himself, right? And so I think that is what inspired them to go, maybe we can put more of these elements. Maybe we can even do a Halloween special, because again, that there's marketing, Halloween, get people to buy, these zombie trooper, costumes for Halloween. They can do that culturally. That's a lot of money, right? I think there's a reason they're doing this now.
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm for it. I think that'll be great. It's just, we'll have to see how it plays out, right? Mm-hmm. I think horror is one of those things, though. I also know that, like, we've, if you're a member of the Patreon, you know that Lucasfilm has been kind of cash strapped lately. Yeah. So the idea of, horror is one of those things that tends to be very cheap to produce and gets a lot of money in. So maybe that's why they're thinking of doing this is a bit of a cash grab.
Well, think about it. If you wanted to make a simple cash grab horror Halloween special, He didn't even have to be 10 episodes, 6. It could be 3-episode special, right? 2 episodes, right? It could be like a little movie. But what you do is you take things like Skeleton Key. You take a bunch of kids that are trapped, in a place with a zombie trooper hunting them, and then it's a zombie movie, right? And it's just scary because these kids are trying to survive with this. It's like it's 28 Days Later with Star Wars. That's very easy to do.
Yeah, I think that would work.
Yeah, Shanatsky says the only real horror scene in Star Wars was the second Clone Wars when General Grievous. Actually, it's from the first Clone Wars. It's the last scene though. The Clone Wars cartoon, the 2D Clone Wars. Now I see what they're referring to. Yes, that's correct. The 2D Clone Wars, when General Grievous was shown before Episode 3, made him a joke. Yes, and if you guys haven't watched the 2D Clone Wars, at least Volume 1, I mean, you can watch Volume 2, it ties in pretty well, but Volume 1 still easily ties into canon with the 3D Clone Wars show. They don't really overlap or interfere with each other after all. If you actually watch them back to back, they still work seamlessly. But yes, the one that he's talking about is very much that was the first appearance that you ever see Grievous in the Star Wars universe, and boy,
he's
did it
legitimately terrifying.
Set up expectations that Episode 3 swooped in and fell short of really badly.
Well, I haven't seen that episode. What made him so terrifying? Was it just the design?
It was the fact that we had just watched this group of Jedi, completely decimate the CIS robots like it was their job. Mm-hmm. And then this other dude shows up and literally starts hunting the Jedi, picking them off, and trying to put the fear into the Jedi. Okay. Right? By like using terror tactics to go after their people. Okay. And and intentionally doing things like collecting the lightsabers as trophies and showing off their friends' lightsabers.
We did see the trophies in the movie, right?
So we're gonna we've got 5 minutes, I think.
Yeah, I gotta I gotta head out to within 5. So yeah,
within 5. All right, we can do this within 5.
All right, let's go.
Somehow.
But that's how you do terror in Star Wars.
And that's a little 5-minute cartoon, and that little 5 minutes, not only was it, a bit of a better execution for parts of Episode 3, but that is more character and heart and Star Wars in all of the entire sequel trilogy.
I like the sequel, so I'm not fully there with you, although I do think that this is very effective storytelling. It's very effective horror storytelling, a very strong understanding of tension, which again I saw as well in the Vader moments with Obi-Wan. Tension was very much seeped into it. So you have to understand pacing in horror. You have to understand that what Hitchcock said, which is that the scare is not the boo, it is the lead up to the boo. The boo is the release, so you can breathe after the scare. The scare is the tension building to the boo. And so you had that very effectively done here. You don't see Grievous, you see them becoming increasingly terrified. You just hear a voice, you hear the footsteps coming to you. That's pure horror, right? That's genius. And so I mean, hopefully that when they do this thing, they'll find a showrunner who is from that horror genre more than science fiction, because they know how to do the science fiction elements of it. What they need is someone who's worked on horror feature films or worked on a horror related television series, who understands that kind of timing. And so, but again, I think with the new regime, free of even the vestiges of pretending to have Kennedy involved, I think they'll have the freedom to do what they want to do.
Yeah. Any last things you want to say, Cameron, before you depart us for the evening?
No, I just want to say, I've got my lovely Patreon, which I hope people will join. I'll throw a link in there because we've got, like I said, we're getting, I'm still putting out my thoughts and comments on Hollywood and reviews and all that other stuff. But, we have the blessing of having some insiders. It's not just Sparrow. We've expanded. We've got insiders inside of Marvel and other companies that are coming out and giving us information that ends up being supported later by the trades. So that is, can't guarantee that's going to be every day, but it's there and it's regular. And now I've got, if you come and join the Patreon, today, hopefully tomorrow you'll see a Q&A from Sparrow, which I think is very revelatory of what's happening inside the company. So that's, I'm excited for that. That's the best way to get in touch with me.
Yeah, the first couple of parts are already on your Patreon, and honestly, the back catalog on your Patreon is interesting reading as things have evolved.
Well, you talk about like someone once said, once this is all over, you have to publish that as a book, right? Of the journey of what happened here at Lucasfilm, and maybe I will. But yeah, and also just the last thing I'll say on that, just a little bit of self promotion, which is that I'm also, I offer consulting services for those of you that are filmmakers, screenwriters, or novelists. I'm both, right? And this month we're having special discount for Patreon members, to work with me directly on improving their scripts, and we've actually. Several of my Patreon clients have gone on to publish a novel on Amazon and win awards, on screenwriting contests and things. So it is of actual value. Unlike a lot of people who present themselves as consultants, I've actually been able to help people get closer to their dreams. And so if you've got that on Patreon, so yeah. Yeah,
and as somebody who has availed themselves of your services, I can 100% guarantee that it is absolutely worth it.
Yeah, that's very gracious of you. And I still owe. He's got Corion's working on something that I owe a second read on, so I got to get that done. Actually, this month is where I intend to get it finished because now finally I'm free from a lot of stuff I was dealing with last month. So we'll talk about that.
May the force be with you, my friend, and we'll see you again very soon, and at least regularly here once a month for sure this year.
God bless you. It'll be great. We'll talk soon. All right, take care, guys. Everyone.
All right, take care. Bye.
All right,
man.
It
is always lovely to have him on, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you can't go wrong with Kamran's Patreon. You can't go wrong with hanging out with him on the channel, and of course getting his input on just about anything, whether we agree or disagree. It doesn't matter, because we respect Kamran's opinion in that he's a writer, he's a fellow fan, and he doesn't regurgitate the status quo. He gives us his raw opinion. He gives us the truth, and that's what I think is important. Dahlia Lightwood says, "I'm grateful for all you guys, and I'm glad to be hanging with you again." Yeah, same, Dahlia. You're always welcome here. And we will all the way up until the end of May be here every Tuesday, starting at 8:30 Eastern, 6:30 Mountain, and be here for the two or so hours. Especially if you guys keep us going in the comments. I'm at the point with this podcast where, our usual, we go for between an hour and a half to 2 hours, but if we keep it going and we keep the discussion going and we're having a good night, then why not keep it longer? But until such time, it's time to wrap up things in the next 4 minutes with a quick touch on Fallout. Normally when we've done these kind of reviews with shows, we make it a point to give an entire block to talk about the episode, and we'll probably try and do that next week, depending on how the news drops. But I'm noticing with these serialized shows that you can't really... I think the best format for us going forward is going to be that we'll talk about what we can talk about of the episode when it happens. But I think realistically, the best reviews we're going to be able to do for these kinds of shows are going to be at the end of the episodes. We know a lot of you guys like to wait until the shows are dropped. All the episodes are out before you watch them. And honestly, happy if you guys want to wait to watch the reviews until then. There's only so much we can talk about in a serialized story. But at the same time, that said, write us an email at thewriterbrothers@gmail.com. If you want us doing full 30-minute blocks, episode by episode, we have the capability and we can do it. It's just, if we're getting 1 to 2 views per video for that, I just don't see the point of doing episode by episode. But that doesn't mean we're not going to talk about what we don't like. What did you like about this week? What do you think of this series so far, all the way up through episode 3?
Well, I've only gotten to episode 2 because I'm kind of watching them one a week. But
Oh my god!
But
freaking knocking Christianity earlier, and we've got the most perfect moment in this episode that happens, and you. So this is also why we're not doing episode blocks, because some people don't catch up on the homework right away. So now I gotta wait till next week when we're talking about episode 4 to talk about the golden rule biting Lucy in the ass and getting her on a cross.
I will absolutely catch up. But so far, I mean, dude, it's so good. and it's catching the New Vegas vibes and introducing us to the players in New Vegas so well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's such a neat world, which is weird to say about a post-apocalyptic nuclear hell wasteland, but I can see why fans of this game got so immersed in this world. And I haven't ever actually played the game yet. I'm a gamer and I haven't played Fallout, but I love the TV show.
Yeah, see that's why you can't give me that much grief, bro. Because I mean, you know, we're kind of in the same boat here. Just as I could flip out for you for that. This is
but it's a testament to the quality of the show, though.
The second episode is the Golden Rule, right?
Yes, but it's in episode 3. Okay, you want me to just spoil it for you?
Yeah, do it. I'm good with it.
So Lucy got picked up by the Legion. That's who we meet at
Caesar's
the end
Legion.
of episode 2.
Yeah,
and we find out that the Legion is currently engaged in a civil war because they think that they don't know who the successor was, because the guy who left it died on a hilltop, and both kingdoms of the Legion are divided by it, and so they're arguing, and each time each side tries to go to see who the successor is, the false, well, Khazar, as they call it, gets they keep shooting each other. So Lucy, of course, gets tries to save, and of course because the midwife tunic lady lost her what did they call him? Legionnaire. Yeah, lost her legionnaire. She got executed. So we used a great waste of a stim pack on that one, Lucy. And when the ghoul finally recovers and starts coming after him, he finds Lucy hanging on a cross and utters the line, "How's that golden rule working out for you?"
That is perfect.
It's like, yeah, Christ taught the golden rule, and that's where it got him.
Have you actually noticed? Have you actually noticed that everyone who preaches that golden rule winds up being killed by it?
And I'm getting dead.
Like everyone, like even freaking Bob Marley was trying to teach everybody peace and love and brotherhood and get shot. Right. John Lennon, same deal. Like anybody who says, guys, let's just be cool with one another is putting a target on their forehead.
Well, yeah, we got things to say about that. So, yeah, well, that's why I like what a lot of people are starting to say. It's like, I'm a good person, not a nice person. You confuse the two at your own peril.
Well, it's like what we say up here. There is nice and there is polite. Canada is polite, not always nice.
Right. Don't conflate the two.
Yep.
Absolutely. No, yeah, you gotta watch the third. I think the 4th episode's probably already dropped. And it's a show that I enjoy watching every single week. I'm excited for, and I do enjoy talking about it once a week. Just because we'll do partial episode blocks, but so next week join us for our Fallout episode 4 review, because that is the halfway through the point of the season.
Yeah, I'll be
because I actually appreciate that they did switch the Fallout release to a weekly review, and so I will happily talk about this show on a weekly basis, like I said I would. But yes, for those of you that are looking to watch all the episodes, I do think, let's see, this is episode 4, 5, 6, 7. So February 3rd, which is actually our off week, will be the day to. So yeah, our February 10th review is going to be our Fallout season 2, our full 30 to 45 minutes or more, when we're really going to dissect the entire season and compare it to the last season and talk about our hopes and dreams for season 3.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Anything more to talk about, Corione, on your end? Anything else? I think we pretty much covered it.
Other than apparently I've got a new project I'm working on with Kamran coming up. I think I'm good.
Actually, I should probably get on mine too. Yeah. New Kamran Pasha Power Painful Hour or something. I have a working title, but yeah, we'll get that figured out.
Maybe the director's room or something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah. All right, man.
So, All right, I want to thank all of you guys in the comments. Simon Dust, Cosmic Vader, Dahlia Lightwood, Shanatsky, Poyo Zapatos. Always good to see all of you guys. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Keep the word going out there. We're going to grow this channel coming into year 5. It's time for us to quit screwing around. See you next week. This has been a presentation of the Entertainment Information Intelligence Podcast from the Writer Brothers. The Writer Brothers, you know, the thing.